Hey everybody, Tim here, and welcome to the Maverick River Podcast, Conversations in the Wild. I'm just so grateful that you tuned in today. This is a special episode for me because my therapist is the guest. That's right, Randy Powell is an incredible man, and I'm just so grateful that I've gotten to know him over the years. He is a licensed marriage and family therapist and has become the founder and executive director of Journeys Christian Counseling, also has Vibrant Living Coaching, where he does tons of coaching all throughout the country, specifically with pastors and church staff, because it's important to him that those men and women that are called to ministry out in the front lines, that they go from a vigilant state to a vibrant state and stay in that vibrant state and healthy so that can serve and love the people of God and the kingdom of God. So he began his counseling at Vanguard University, also where I've done some post-grad education. He feels called to be a minister, and one of the things I love about him and the way that he does his therapy is he really is pastoral, has a shepherd's heart, and he uses scripture so often in the way that he unpacks clinical, psychological issues that we experience as humans. And so he has his master's in family therapy from Cal State Fullerton. He's been doing this a really long time, and he has helped not only me individually, but he's also helped Corey and I in couples counseling. But I'm just thrilled that you guys tuned in to listen to this episode. There's a lot of great illustrations and philosophies as it pertains to counseling and our thinking and boundaries and friendships and anxiety and fear and all sorts of amazing stuff. So make sure you give us a good rating, you share this. We want to continue to use this podcast to inspire and encourage men to be authentic with their lives, to get the help that they need. One of my personal values is to normalize therapy for men. There's a lot of stigma still in today's culture where mental health, specifically with men, is it's really a crisis in today's culture with men and women. But men are unfortunately really struggling in the area of suicide and depression. Oftentimes it goes undiagnosed, and so we want to help men feel comfortable to jump into therapy, coaching, counseling, you name it. And so this is an important one. So thanks for tuning in to the Maverick River Podcast. All right, welcome to Conversations in the Wild, a Maverick River podcast. We're thrilled to have you back, and I feel honored to have a very, very special guest, a dear friend, a mentor, my therapist, and just an overall genius and wonderful human being, Randy. Well, maybe you should say Dr. Randy Powell. Welcome, Randy. So glad you're here.
Hate to correct you, but I'm not doctor. That's
You
my daughter,
are.
Dr. Powell.
I feel like you are a doctor, though.
I like to play doctor, but I am not a doctor. I am a minister and a psychotherapist.
Psychotherapist sounds pretty good too. Or also kind of sounds psycho. I don't know. It's a little bit of both.
It is something that's weak and crazy, but I love it.
Well, I would like to start off before we kind of really get into some of the real meat and the real reasons that I wanted to interview you and have you on the podcast today. I'm going to throw a wild and crazy question at you. And this one is not one you probably expected. So it's a good old fashioned would you rather. Would you rather, if you had to get in a fight, would you rather fight a duck the size of a horse, which is it's a huge duck, the size of a horse, or 10 horses the size of a duck?
I think I'd rather fight 10 horses the size of a duck.
That's a lot of horses to defend yourself. Why would you do that?
Because I like horses more anyway. So they're cuter and they're more fun.
But you're going to have to fight them.
I have to fight a big duck. What's the difference? You have to fight something.
That's
true.
You
ask what I want. I like my 10 horses.
10 horses seems a little easier. You could probably kick them. And a giant duck sounds actually kind of terrifying.
Yeah, their wings and and all they could hit you with and fly. I
Yeah.
think I'll take the 10 horses.
Okay. 10 horses it is. I'm actually kind of surprised that the answer, but this isn't why we had you on today. Um, we we've known each other for some time. I've been blessed to have been counseled and gotten therapy from you. And one thing I want to make sure that I say that I know obviously you believe is that it's somewhat of an important thing to me that uh, we normalize therapy for men. It is a part of life and taking care of ourselves, and it's important that men uh, they don't shy away from seeking the help that they need to make sure that they're taking care of themselves and their mental health. So one of the things we are going to talk about is therapy and some of the work that you do. So what inspired you to become a therapist?
Well, I climbed a tree and preached at 4 or 5 years old, and I was sharing my history or my Sunday school lesson with my neighbors, and I've always, wanted to be a minister and pastor. And I realized that when I preach, some people will hear the sermon that doesn't apply to them, and others will not hear the sermon that does apply to them, and it isn't very personalized at times. Whereas when I meet with someone one on one or in a group, I can personalize the whole process and interact with them and get to know them. And it's just, to me, it's much more fun and much more individualized to be able to meet with someone one on one.
Yeah, I remember one of the first things that you said is I'm a minister that happens to be a therapist. And that's definitely the way that I've experienced the work that you do.
Oh,
So
I have a pastor's heart. I love to love people, and therapy, counseling, all of that just helps to inform how to present the love of God and grace to each of us in a more powerful way. That's all.
I love it. I love it. And one of the things that you do that has always been really cool is you tend to humanize biblical characters. And I'll never forget when you talked about Peter. Uh, Share with our audience how you talked about Peter, one of Jesus's disciples, and you just psychoanalyzed him. And I'm like, whoa, I've never heard of anyone talk about a disciple like that.
Well, you've got Peter, you've got Paul, you even have David that are fun to look at that way. David was a manic depressive. He probably needed lithium if he was alive today, but he danced naked before all of Israel, and yet only a good manic depressive could have written the Psalms. If you're depressed, read the Psalms. If you're happy, read the Psalms. So that really our personality traits and all can be used for the glory of God, and we see them. We just need to manage them. Peter was a people pleaser. He wanted to
Mm-hmm.
please Jesus. He said, "Call me, I'll jump out of the boat." He cuts an ear off of a centurion. He's not afraid, he's courageous, but he likes to please people. So around the fire, this girl says, "You're one of the disciples." He goes, "No, I'm not." Even though Jesus told him, "You're going to deny me," Peter wanted to please these people, so he denied Christ, even though he knew that was going to come on, because he's a people pleaser. Now, when he managed his people pleasing personality traits, he then was the one that says, "Hang me upside down in the cross. I don't deserve right side up." At that point, he didn't care. He still liked to please people. So I think at some level, when Jesus said, "Upon this Peter, I am going to build my church," I wonder if it isn't upon the pleasing component Peter had. Under
Mm-hmm.
control was powerful. You can also take Paul, just to expand a little bit, Tim. You look at Paul, who was a concrete, linear, perfectionistic, driven Pharisee of Pharisees, out of control, and where his personality owned him, he killed Christians.
Mm-hmm.
Under control, he writes most of the New Testament. He is just a powerhouse. So all of us have personality traits that out of control do damage. Under control, we become masterpieces in the hands of God and work for the kingdom to glorify him.
So another way of saying that is like when we're in our healthiest state, we are more impactful and more utilized for God's kingdom.
Yes, I like the way you said it. Yeah, when we are in our healthiest state, when we accept who we are, our gifts, our talents, our abilities. One of my definitions of humbleness is the honest evaluations of my weaknesses and my strengths and acceptance of both. To be humble is to know what my weaknesses are. To be humble is to know what my strengths are. So when we
Mm.
know ourselves honestly, there's a humbleness that someone can't come and blow smoke up my butt and can't come and say, "You're great, Randy. You're awesome," when I know I'm not at something. Like, "You're great at science." No, I'm not. Honest evaluation allows me to be humble, but the same definition is true for confidence.
Mm.
Confidence is the honest evaluation of my weaknesses and my strengths and acceptance of both. So, our greatest health comes when we're honest with who we are, our weaknesses, our strengths, our hurts, our pains, our abilities. When we do that, we now can control who we are. Otherwise, it drives us to where we become obsessive compulsive, like Paul, and killing Christians at the extreme level, or a Peter that denies Christ. But under control, knowing who we are, we're both humble and confident at the exact same time.
I like that definition. So one of the things I led with and I want to talk about because I think it's super important and I think it's changing for the better as more men are recognizing that I might need some counseling, I might need some therapy, I might need to work on myself more than I thought. Um, and so I'd love you to share like one of the things that I talk about a lot with Maverick River as I'm talking to churches and different people is some of the statistics in today's culture with men and depression and men and suicide and mental health is just staggering. So 2022, um, men died by suicide 3.85 times more than women. White males account for 68% of suicide deaths in 22. In 2020, we had over 30,000 men die by suicide, and
Mm.
then 6 million men suffer from depression per year, but most male depression often never gets diagnosed. Men probably just vacillate, isolate, and never talk about what's really going on mentally and with their emotional state. So why do you think this is? Why are we seeing these kind of statistics in today's culture?
Well, I think to a great extent, it's if you look at sports in general, we're taught to put a band-aid on it. Don't let it show that it hurts. I know when I wrestled and played football, you were never supposed to show someone where you got injured because they would go after it. So in our
Mm.
culture, our society, if we show weakness, if we show an injury, people will go after it. So why would I want to expose myself to being injured and hurt? So we just suck it up, hide it, put it behind a facade, a fake, and act like we're okay. And we're taught to be okay. And there's times that we need to not let the pain own us and drive us. But if we look at all people, pro athletes, all have coaches that help them be better at what they're doing.
Mhm.
So we get in a habit of saying, no, it doesn't hurt, acting like it doesn't. It actually does more damage long term physically, it does more damage emotionally, and it does more damage relationally. And so we have to get over ourselves to say, actually, we can expose ourselves and share at the depth of our pain to the right people, the ones who know how to help us, know how to be a better golfer or a better athlete in some area. So all of us look for financial consultants, we all look for a variety of help, but emotionally and relationally, men were taught to suck up your emotions, don't show it, don't demonstrate it, because that would show weakness. But the reality is, it actually shows more strength to be able to say, I'm hurting, I'm sad, I need someone to help me. And we can improve and actually be better at life and not have the emotion go into a deeper realm, in a quiet, dark realm that actually does more damage. The more we bring it to light, scripture says when you bring things to light, it loses power. So the
Mm.
more we bring to light our emotions, our hurts, our pains, our needs, we actually have power over it to make changes and grow. And we've been taught to hide it, deny it, repress it, ignore it as men. And we need to get over it and realize that this is the same issue with marriages, relationships. My own emotions are the same as whether I'm golfing or trying to improve in some athletics of you know a sport of any type. Pickleball. You want to be a better pickleball player? Get with a good pickleball coach that will show you how to be a pickleball player. You want to be a better husband, a better marriage, get with someone who knows how to help you with those areas.
Yeah, so you're kind of making it normalized in that we get coaching for most things that we need help on, and there's just still a stigma when it comes to our emotional and our well-being mentally. And so it's, if you want to learn pickleball, you get a coach. If you want to need physical training, you get it. You go to all these different types of coaches, but for some reason we don't want to expose weakness or the needs, so we are reluctant when it comes to our mental well-being. And I think that's changing. Do you feel like you're seeing that in your own practice, more the stigma kind of going away with men and being more open to going to therapy?
Yeah, especially the younger generation that's 30s and younger are actually not afraid at all to come to therapy, counseling, and say, hey, I need help, I want to grow. And they get to enjoy life more. It also helps their biological well-being. So the more that we repress or ignore or don't face it, the more it actually causes heart attacks, autoimmune issues. And the 30-year-olds are, much more open to looking at themselves, being honest and real. But I do see 40s, 50s, and 60s coming in more than I ever have, as they're realizing there is benefit to come and talk about it for individual health or marital relational health. And it impacts your successes at all that we do. Because if I am more stable, if I am more confident with who I am and know how to manage it, I know how to manage it whether I'm, again, golfing or playing games, or whether I'm working, or
Right.
whether I'm at home with my wife. So it transcends all circumstances when we know who we are and learn to self-regulate, identify my emotions, and know how to deal with them.
So one of the things that you've really helped me in the area of therapy, and you have a book with this, and the title is your philosophy around "It's Not a Bear." And I know that ties closely to moving from vigilant to vibrant, and I'd love for you to be able to share some of the philosophy and even about your book and some of the work that you're doing with the workbooks. Some are specifically geared towards the individual, some are geared towards marriage, and just working through fear, anxiety, or any of life's struggles. So talk about "It's Not a Bear."
Well, we all react to things that trigger us in some ways. And when we do, we have this intensified reaction as if we're fighting a grizzly. And a lot of times it's not a grizzly, it's a gummy bear or a koala or some other type of bear. It's a 1, 2, or 3 on a scale of 10, 10 being a grizzly bear of danger or intensity. Someone cuts me off on the freeway and I get upset and think they're trying to attack me personally.
Right.
And we treat it like it's a bear coming after us. My wife disagrees with me. Someone doesn't like me. We're having these reactions as if it's a bear when it's not life or death. But my whole reaction, my amygdala, my hypothalamus, my protective reactions of danger, of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn reactions, treat it as if it's a bear instead of stopping and saying, it's not a grizzly. It's not life or death. It's a 2 or a 3 that my wife disagreed with me, or that someone doesn't like me. But we tend to react always in a higher level. And so one of the studies was done, Tim, that said that we are made to only react 5 to 6% of the time like it's a bear, a true grizzly, in a danger mode, in a fight, flight, freeze. But most of us in America react 70% of the time to a trigger as if it's a grizzly bear. Our reactions are escalated to a 7, 8, or 9. And it does damage to our bodies. It makes our relationships be hindered. So we're overreacting. Now, the question is, why are we overreacting? And part of what we do is we help to identify why we're overreacting. What's intensifying my reactions? I call those add-ons. So current life stressors. If I have a lot going on in life and I have bills to pay, I have a party this weekend, I got to get the house in order. My kids are sick, I got to get them to the doctor. I'm not feeling well. So a lot is going on, and now someone disagrees with me. I then react with a more intensified reaction than the situation really calls for. I call that add-ons. So the
Yep.
more we can identify the add-ons of life and pull them apart, we can deal with the actual situation at hand for what level it should be, a 2 or a 3, not a full grizzly. And it's not a bear as a phrase to remind us it's not life or death. Is this, let me take a reality check. Is this situation where I'm reacting like a 6, 7, 8 on a scale, is it really life or death? No, it's really a 2 or 3. So why am I reacting more intensely? Those are add-ons. Let me pull them to the side. Let me self-regulate with a deep breath, relax, and look at the situation that's at hand and deal with it. My wife disagreed with me. Can I stop and calm myself and be able to talk to her in a calm way? Years ago, my daughter, when she was real young, disagreed with me on something, and it triggered me and made me real angry. Now, she was being normal and nothing wrong, but I reacted, and I'm going to demonstrate, if you don't mind, on how
No,
how
please.
I reacted to her. So when she said something to me, I said to her, Liz, you're not showing me any respect. Stop that right now, and I'm not going to take it. Now, as I said that, I knew I was more intense than I needed to be. I was escalated, but I didn't know why. And at the moment, it just all took over. The danger, the fight, flight, freeze, protect myself was fully engaged at that moment, Tim. Fortunately, we've encouraged our kids to speak up. She was 12, my daughter, and she goes, Dad, why are you so angry? Now, I
Mm.
have two options there as I saw it. One is to say, I'm angry because you're not showing me respect. You wouldn't do it to teachers, so I'm not going to take it. I would have been accurate, but my reaction would have been much more intensified than what was needed at the moment. I needed a 1 or a 2, not a 7 or an 8.
Right.
So as I stopped and I saw it was add-ons, I realized I was tired. I'd had a lot of stuff going on in my life that week. There were things I had to do that weekend. I was just feeling all these pressed down and pushed so that when Liz disagreed with me, it felt like she was a bear coming after me instead of
Mm.
my daughter disagreeing. So I took a breath. I looked at her and I said, Liz, I'm sorry. I overreacted. You don't deserve that. I was showing you disrespect. She came over and hugged me and said, I forgive you, Dad. And I go,
Mm.
okay. And we went on and she said, I'm sorry. And we apologized and we connected and we were fine. But I could have escalated that, kept it going with an accurate statement of you're not showing me respect. But the
Mhm.
intensity of the statement is the problem, not the statement itself. It was accurate, but I didn't need to be yelling at her. That was my problem. So all of us have to recognize, am I overreacting? Is this really the right reaction for the situation I'm facing? Or is I'm acting like it's a grizzly bear and it's really only a koala? It's a little panda. It's nothing more than a kung fu panda. It's kind of cute, nice. How severe is this really? So it's not a bear as a phrase to help me slow it down, put it in reality. It's not life or death. What are the add-ons? Pull those apart so I can look at the situation and deal with it for what it really is, not for what I'm feeling. Sometimes our experiences of what we feel is not accurate to the situation. Those are the add-ons and intensified reactions.
Love it. Now, just for more clarity and digging a little bit deeper, because one of the things that you helped Corey and I with is understanding the scale a little deeper. In that, again, a 10 is in a heightened situation, high stress, where we give something a 10 rating equivalent to a grizzly. A 1 is a koala bear or a teddy bear, something low scale. But what I remember very clearly is you were talking to Corey and I in couples counseling, and you were using the scale to help us understand, like, Corey was kind of living in a 7,
Mhm.
and a heightened stressor, a lot going on, managing the kids, the household, all the different things, managing the household, and she was living in a 7 state. And you're like, your job, Tim, because she would get real reactionary, and all of a sudden something silly that shouldn't have upset me or her became this ugly cycle of me responding poorly because she responded poorly and da 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 da. And you're like, no, your job isn't to react because she's at a 7 or an 8. Your job is to bring her below a 5, because anything above a 5, when you're at that state, you cannot really respond in the way that you need to. Now you're going to give the more clinical language to this. So help us understand what our job is, whether it's our wife, boss, any sort of relational conflict. How do we, what happens when we get, even for ourselves or maybe our wife or husband, what do we do in that state? We're no good to anyone.
Yeah, the first part is I have to self-regulate before I can help someone else. And so the key there is, if I'm above a 5, my brain's already shutting down. The oxygen's going out, going to my body, getting ready to fight, flight, or freeze. Adrenaline's kicking in. I'm going to a narrowed focus. I'm getting to tunnel vision. I'm not going to process clearly. My cognitive functioning frontal lobes are shutting down so that I can just react to the bear that I think is in front of me. So I'm not looking to process or discuss anything if I'm in an escalated state. We're not going to have a fun discussion. We're going to have a fight. I'm going to try to win. You're going to try to win. So I have to first regulate me and say it's my responsibility to take a breath, put oxygen back into my brain, into my system, slow it down. It's not a bear. It's my wife. It's okay. We're talking about something. Slow it down so I can drop below a 5 and make sure I'm at a 2, 3, or 4. So my brain is functioning well. I have access to the Holy Spirit, to prayer. I have access to hearing. Now I can join her so that I can help her come down from her 5 or 6 or whoever I'm dealing with. Because if they're escalated above a 5 and I'm above a 5, the chance of us having any type of conversation is almost nil. We're just going to fight because I am in tunnel vision. I'm going to win. You're going to win. And then often what we do is we look back at that conversation and go, it wasn't a big deal. We fought over whether to go to McDonald's or to Burger King.
Right.
And it's not an issue. Well, all the add-ons were intensifying my reaction. I went above a 5. I'm now ready to fight. You're above a 5 about where are we going to eat and why do we always fight over where we're going to eat?
Mm-hmm.
It's really not about eating at that point. It's about that we're escalated and our brain is not clearly functioning so we can talk. So the goal, I need to self-regulate, calm myself down, make sure I'm below a 5, 3, or a 4, so that I can then join my wife or my whoever it is, my friends, employer, whatever, and say, oh, so you're scared right now, and join what their experience is, Tim, and be able to say, yeah, you really want McDonald's, don't you? I understand. And we haven't eaten it out together for a while, and you just want to eat and be together. And okay, I can see that. What we're doing is helping to calm down the danger signals so that the other person can look and go, well, I really don't care about McDonald's either. I just felt like I wasn't listened to. And now we're connecting at a 3 or a 4 because you can now process and have your brain work. It is not working above a 5 clearly. And we just fight each other. So one of us has to go below a 5 and then help the other drop down and create safety so they can go below a 5. Now we can solve solutions. And when we're both below a 5 on any situation, you can almost always find solutions at that point to whatever the issue is, no matter how dire or difficult it may be.
I feel like I'm at like an 8 right now because the only options you gave were McDonald's and Burger King, and both are garbage, and you didn't recommend In-N-Out. So I need to self-regulate and work through the solutions, and we don't have to eat at either of those places.
Boy, you really like to eat at better places and at nice places like In-N-Out. And I can understand that, Tim. And I hope that you can drop down to below an 8, and I'll go with you to wherever you would like, because you're my friend and I care about you. And I just thought Burger King and Taco Bell would be options. But, if you need it, I'd be happy to go to In-N-Out with you. I like it too.
Oh my gosh, I feel so seen and known. And I'm so grateful that you're okay getting a double double instead of a Big Mac. This is wonderful. I feel so much better.
Well, especially since you're paying, it's even better.
That's fine. That's absolutely fine as long as you don't make me eat at McDonald's. Um, no, I think the thing is that I thought about the visual I got. If you're above a 5, you're gonna punch the bear, and the bear is gonna punch you. When
Yes.
you're trying to work through and resolve any sort of conflict, you're just not gonna get anywhere. You're gonna end up fighting, and there'll probably not be much solution anyway, in that. So I think you're right. You can almost solve any problem when you can self-regulate and also help the other person um, calm down, feel loved and known to get underneath that 5.
Yeah, I came home from work and one time and I had a lunch break and I sat down in my easy chair and was relaxing. I had an hour to relax and eat some food. And when you want to relax, you want to block the world out. Nothing exists. And I was in my own zone and breathing and relaxing. And my wife asked me a question. She said, what do you want to eat? And it felt like this grizzly bear. It felt like someone coming into my sacred space, ripping apart all my safe, quiet zone. And I reacted as if it were a bear. And I said to her, I don't know, you figure it out. And as I said those words, have you ever said words that you want to take back, even as they're coming out? You're saying, no, let me
No,
grab
it's
them.
never happened to me, not once.
Well, it's happened to me anyway,
I'm
numerous
sure.
times. As the words are going out, I'm trying to grab them, but they're already out and they're gone. And it was just that moment of peace that was taken away. And all she was wanting to do was get something to eat. And she goes, okay, I got it. And walked out the door to go buy us something. Well, she's gone. I'm sitting there going, oh no, I'm going to have to say, I'm sorry. I really messed up. And when she came back with some food that she had bought, probably In and Out because it was good, and she brought the
Yes, it
food
was.
back in, and we're sitting there. I said, "I'm sorry, I was really a jerk and mean to you." And she goes, "Yes, you were." And I laughed. I said, "I'm sorry." She goes, "I know. You've had a stressed week. You've had a tough time, and I get it. But you don't need to treat me that way." And I said, "You're right. I don't. I need to relax beforehand." And we both laughed and we were done and moved on. We all will have moments where we overreact. I overreacted. I
Hmm.
had add ons that intensified. I reacted. My wife was calm and just said, oh, okay, and left. It helped me to be able to calm down. When she came back, I was able to say, I was a jerk. She goes, yes, you were. We agreed. And it was actually resolved real quickly because she was lower, I was lower. We were able to see the truth. I felt known even because she said, yeah, I know you've had a tough week, but that you still shouldn't treat me that way. And she's right. So we connected and we were fine. So you need someone to help you calm down when you get escalated. One of us has to be below the 5 or take a break, get away from each other. It won't work. If she'd have been above a 5, she would have yelled at me, I'd have yelled at her, and we would have just had a fight over nothing. And all she was wanting to do is get me something to eat and give me a break.
I love it. I know this is definitely close to some of the same philosophy, but there's a lot more to it. Share a little bit about your book, Vigilant to Vibrant, and what that means.
Well, we live in a vigilant state, escalated, upset, and most of the time, Jesus says, peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth I unto you. And yet we don't have peace. We're not filled with a calmness. We're filled with anxiety, panic, fear. The world's going to end. No one loves me. Everyone's against me. We're in a constant worry of, do we have retirement money? Do we have enough to live here? Do we have enough for this? Are we wearing the right deodorant? Uh, did we go to
Hmm.
the right place to eat? It's always these questions that imply we blew it. We're not good enough. We messed up. And when that's occurring, we live in an escalated state, which is vigilant. We're in a hyper alert, looking to see what's the next thing coming after me to make me feel inadequate, dumb, short, not good enough, um, failing in some fashion. And so we live vigilantly, and we need to get out of our vigilant system and out of vigilant living and get more to vibrant system and vibrant living. So if we do a vigilant system, we're using adrenaline and cortisol and other stress hormones that actually damage our body but keep us in an escalated state. And many of us will start the day at a 3, 4, or 5 in that vigilant, escalated, oh no, what do I got to do today? What's the next thing I got to face? What's the next problem? And we're in this got to mentality. I've got to get it done. And now we're in an escalated, vigilant processing state instead of in a vibrant state, which is more of where we're using endorphins and serotonin and dopamine, which are all positive energies that don't do damage to our system, keeps our brains active, and we're able to do more and get more done without it damaging us. And that's our vibrant system. So we want to access our vibrant system and live out of it more than our vigilant stress, adrenaline, cortisol. It's damaging, it's escalated, it's danger. Vibrant is it's good, it's endorphins and serotonin that we can get by slowing down and looking at something in a different way. In other words, you got a party tonight you got to put together. Do you got to do it or do you get to do it? If you've got to do it and you say, I've got to pick up the kids, I got to get the party, I've got to go play games, I got to go golf with my friends. If you do got to, and I've got to golf well, you are already in your adrenalated state, you're escalated, you will not enjoy, you will not do as well because you're using your adrenaline and vigilant processes. If you change that, just subtly change it to, I get to pick up the kids, I get to have a party, it's my choice, my opportunity. I get to go golf and have fun. I get to hang with Tim on a podcast and enjoy hanging with my friend and just talking about life. I get to do it. I'm now accessing my vibrant system and endorphins instead of my adrenaline state. So a simple way to know which system are you operating from is, do you feel like you got to do it? Or do you feel like you get to do something, choose to do it? And that way I get out of my vigilant system and into my vibrant. And if we're living mostly in our vigilant system, we're living in an escalated state on an ongoing basis, and we get anxiety, panic, fear, anger, depression. More often than not, we get all these reactions and impatience, and we actually lessen our abilities than if we're in our humorous, laughing, vibrant state of, I get to do this. It's my opportunity. I choose kids. I choose my wife. I choose to work. I get to go do these things. So get to and got to helps to know which system we're in, vigilant or vibrant system.
I love it. This past summer, an example of that is you invited Corey and I think 3 or 4 other pastor couples, and we got to go to Costa Rica with you and your wife, and it was an amazing experience, and we got to spend time with you and learn and enjoy all the beautiful country, but also we worked through what does it look like for us as pastors to live in a more vibrant state. And that can be really challenging because sometimes we just get put in vigilant situations, and it can be hard to bounce back and forth. But I think some of what you're saying is really a perspective shift that we just have to change. It's a simple nuance of get to or got to. I think I said Costa Rica, I got to, but it was more of a I get to. But both of them, I was beyond excited whether I was I got to or I get to. I loved every minute of it, and I think unpacking it a little bit more with your book, what are some of the practical things? I know there's a workbook, but there's also more of an actual book. And is it just unpacking some of the ways that we move that perspective from a get to got to got to get to?
Yeah, the book tells a story. Some of them that I told today of sitting in the chair and getting upset at my wife asking for something, my daughter getting angry at her. The book tells the different stories and also the different steps to move out of the vigilant state to a vibrant state.
I
And
see.
how do we do it? It's not a simple process only of get to, got to. It helps us understand which system we're working on, our vigilant or our vibrant system. Which one
Mhm.
are we accessing, the adrenaline or in cortisol, or are we accessing the more endorphins and something positive to motivate us? And so the book itself is about just telling the stories and going through the process. The workbook is digging in and saying, okay, let me see what my add-ons are. Let me identify them. One of the other things we have to do to realize what our escalated state is to understand what we're experiencing at the moment. So I call that PET reactions. My physical, emotional, and thought reactions. So what is my physical reaction to us talking? My hands are relaxed. My body's relaxed. I'm comfortable. But if I was tense, I'd be, my hands are tight. I'm feeling sweat on my hands and palms. My throat is tight. That's a physical reaction that's telling me, am I escalated or am I calm? The emotion that would go with it on a calm state, emotion would be, I'm having fun. This is good. I'm with my friend. An escalated emotional reaction may be, I'm scared I'll say something wrong. I'm scared someone will make fun of me. Oh no, I'm anxious and worried that I'm not
Mm.
quoting this right. I'm not saying anything right. So now those are the thoughts that go with the emotion of the fear of saying it wrong. And now I'm saying thoughts that are, I'll do it wrong. I'll say it poorly. Where if I'm in a calm state of my body, my emotions, and I'm having fun, my thoughts are, this is going to be fun. I can't wait to talk with Tim and share what I know. So our PET reactions tell us if we're escalated or calm. So we go through workbook to help you practice noticing, being aware of your physical, emotional, and thought reactions, which tells you where you fall on the danger scale. So the more my physical reactions, emotions, and thoughts are anger, fear, insecurity, I'm no good, all those types of thoughts, the more we know we're at an escalated state. The more aware we become of what state we're at and what level, the more we can identify how to calm down, relax, self-regulate. And the book goes through various stages to help you identify how to do that, the workbook, as well as how to identify the add-ons and how to take care of the add-ons so that they don't keep coming back. You want to drain add-ons. So if
Right.
it's current life stressors, you want to identify them and deal with those separately from the situation you're currently dealing with. Pull it out so that it doesn't become an add-on or intensify our reaction. If I'm tired and sick, that's another add-on. How do I take that one and pull it to the side to say, okay, I'm tired, but I need to deal with cleaning the house. So
Right.
how do I take that so I'm not reacting when my wife says the house needs clean, can you help me? How do I take a breath, say I'm really tired, give me a minute, I'll do it in a second. That's a calm reaction. To say I'm tired, is an escalated reaction. In
Mhm.
both cases, we're going to help with the house because someone's coming over or we're selling it or whatever may be the case. But if I'm in an escalated state and I don't recognize it and see the add-ons that will intensify, I can't relax and calmly talk with my wife or talk with my friends. So add-ons, the workbook helps practice how to do that, all the different stages, all the different steps to identify, be aware, reality testing, what's the reality of the situation, relaxing. It gives steps to how to relax, take deep breaths, slow down, practice that, how to re-engage the brain, and how to rejoice that all of it's going well. So those are the 5 steps that we would go through.
I love it. And we'll make sure to put the links to pick up those books on either off your website or Amazon. I think you have it on there. But very practical, helpful tools to work through the add-ons and physical, emotional, thought response and working through the danger scale that we talked about. One of the things that is also interesting and unfortunate with men in our culture today, they're calling it the friendship recession, and there's lots of studies. One is in the Survey Center on American Life that talks about the percentage of men with at least 6 close friends has fallen by half since 1990. 1 in 5 single men say they have 0 friends. And then there's another study that talks about they found a percentage of men without any close friends jump from 3% to 15%. And like guys just struggle with friendships. I have some thoughts on that. I'm sure you have some thoughts, but why do you think maybe men today are struggling with friendships?
Well, friendships, you have a variety of types of friendships. And so what are we talking? If it's casual friendships where we just go and hang some and talk and fish, or, play golf, play pickleball, go ride a
Right.
bike, that type of friendship is a casual friendship. Nothing's wrong with those. Those are good. We need them. Casual friendships do not share at the deepest level, so there's no intimacy. To be intimate is to be vulnerable, and it's scary. And again, we go all the way back to commercials, and everything we do is actually increasing our anxiety, our fear, politics, even religion. We bring up anxiety and fear, and we don't promote a situation of vulnerability. Vulnerability is often seen as a weakness, and we take advantage of it. And so we have to create relationships that are safe, that someone I know I can share my real feelings and depths with without them making fun of me or taking advantage of it. We haven't provided a situation well where someone can come and just share themselves. You and I went to Costa Rica and took that group, and we had fun there. But what it did is it was a way to get away from all the current stressors and all the things going on and stop and create an atmosphere where it was safe to be real and talk in depth about what really we're experiencing, what anxieties, what fears. And it was safe to be real. We could be vulnerable. And unfortunately, we don't have very many situations where we create an environment, a situation where someone can just be real and say, I'm scared of my finances. I'm scared of my health. Men get some problem, a growth, and they don't share it. And we need to stop and be able to say, I'm a little scared that this growth on my arm is here, and be able to share it with someone that won't make fun of me and say, I'll just put dirt on it. You'll be okay. Or some other such
Right.
reaction. And instead they go, oh, that's scary. Yeah. Hey, I have a dermatologist or I have a doctor. Yeah, that is scary to have possible cancer or some other problem. We need to create more safety, more situations where it's safe to be vulnerable and real, so that friendships are more than just casual ones. They're intimate ones where we are actually sharing our fears of life and our joys of life and our circumstances that feel overwhelming. We all need a friend where we can call and say, "Hey, there's a rat infestation. What do I do?" Or there is a leak in my roof. How do I fix it? And feel like we can call one another and have a support of someone not making fun of me, but instead of saying, "Oh yeah, I had that, and that's scary. I know a friend. Let me work with you." We in our culture of men, part of our humor, which is okay, is we tend to be aggressive and make fun of each other.
Right.
Most guys, how do they greet each other? They hit each other. They don't just say, "Hi, how are you?" and hug and touch. We tend to punch or push or do something physical that is more aggressive. And it basically says it's not safe to be vulnerable and say, "Hey, Tim, how are you doing? Let me hug you. What's going on in your life?" So we have not created a situation where we can feel safe to truly share a vulnerable concern, thought, question, situation, circumstance with each other. Instead, we're more making jokes, making punchlines, pushing each other, instead of stopping and going and saying, "Tim, what's going on in your life? Let's have
Yeah.
vulnerability." That's where friendships are fading, because there isn't a safe place to do that. Where we used to
Right.
stay in one place next to each other for 20 years, 30 years and live there and get to know each other and we went to high school together and we've known each other for 40 years.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the things that with Maverick River, the ministry that that I do and you're very supportive of, is we say we want to create environments for men to encounter Jesus and feel safety and feel vulnerable and honest and be able to be supportive community and make courageous decisions and be transformed by Jesus. And so it's so important for us to have those places. And one of the areas I think that should be most common to find is the local church. And that's why it's so important for me to do the work that I do to help churches create men's ministries that are an intentional environment for men to find community and brotherhood and safety and connection, and actually grow together and support one another, lift each other up. So I think that's absolutely true. And what you're saying.
One study showed that depression and suicidal reactions would lessen substantially if someone just would listen and hear each other and know what is safe to share. I've told you this before, and I don't know if you remember the movie Castaway with Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
For those that don't know Castaway, the movie with Tom Hanks, he was on a desert island alone from a crash in a plane. And after a period of time of being there on this small island alone, he started getting depressed and ready to kill himself. And as he was starting to do that, he put his hand that had some blood on it on a volleyball called Wilson. And it looked like it had 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth. And he put coconut hair on top of it. And he started calling this volleyball Wilson and carried it around everywhere he went. And Wilson became his friend. Now, here's the irony. Wilson never gave advice. Wilson never talked back. Wilson just listened.
Sure.
And it saved his life because he could tell him anything and know it was okay. Sometimes I think we forget how to be a Wilson with each other. And all we need to do sometimes is just listen. And that will help people and build the friendships and fight the depression and suicide and deep feelings of aloneness. The funny thing about that movie, too, at the end of it, when Tom Hanks gets rescued, he's taken Wilson with him, and he's on a boat trying to get off the island onto a bigger ship. And as he's in the boat, the volleyball bounces into the water and you lose it. It almost feels like a person died. It's like, no, not Wilson.
Anybody but Wilson.
Yes. And I think sometimes if we would just practice being a Wilson with each other, we would create a safe environment to build friendships and not feel alone. We don't have to always have advice. We don't always have to solve it. We don't always have to, know what's the right thing. If I can just listen and hear you. And that's really what I think you also do really well is you listen super well and you help others say, okay, let's just be in a group and hear what each other has to say. And that lessens the depression, loneliness, just to be heard, just to say it.
Yeah, I think that's an area that men sometimes struggle with, me included, is just listening. We're not always great listeners. And so I definitely think that would be a critical piece in the friendship area. One of the areas of friendship that you talk about that I think would be really cool for you to unpack is the illustration of Jerusalem, the Jerusalem walls. And what does that look like? Because sometimes we build some pretty high walls as it pertains to relationships. And sometimes, and you and I have talked about this, I got a fast pass entry all the way to the inner circle. And so I'd love for you to kind of share that visual illustration of friendships and how we can have good boundaries and understanding and clarity around relationships.
Well, Jerusalem had walls, and the reason they had walls was to keep out the enemy. Way back in the Old Testament and New Testament, we read about Jerusalem walls, and they had gates so they'd let people in, and each gate was guarded a different way. Sometimes the main gate was on shale, loose gravel, and was built on a steep incline so that any group coming in could be fought against easier. So we have this Jerusalem with walls and boundaries and limits to make sure that not everyone was allowed in. Only those who were safe was allowed into the city. And some people were needed in the city that would be merchants. So they would be bringing in food and clothing and silk and whatever else the city may need. And they set up called a marketplace. So people would come in at the marketplace, and the people of Jerusalem would go to the marketplace, and they would trade and barter and exchange goods. And we call that transactional relationships today. So we have certain people that are transactional people that we have a good relationship with, but not a deep one that we get something out of it and we give something. Then you have in Jerusalem the outer courts. Now, the outer courts are where Jesus went to turn the tables over because the money changers were there. It's sacred, but it's not the most sacred, but it's sacred. It's just outside the temple itself. And only Jews were allowed into the outer courts. So you had to prove yourself to get into the outer courts. So first off, in Jerusalem, you have to prove yourself to get in, that you're safe to even get into the city. Then you have to have something to offer or be a resident. Then you go to the outer courts. You had to prove you were Jewish to get into the outer courts, because that started becoming sacred ground. That Jesus said, this is sacred. So now it's more intimate. It's deeper. It's more important. And the next one was the temple itself. And there you would go to the priest at the temple door and show them the offering you had. If it was a goat or something that was presentable and appropriate, they would then let you in. They also look to see if you were clean. So each level is testing more and more if the person is more safe and allowed into more sacred space. So the next space is the temple. You're allowed in. Now, if you're in the temple and you spit up on the ground, in the temple, they would take you to the dung gate, which is what exactly it is, garbage gate, take you outside there, throw you in a pit, and stone you because you desecrated a very sacred area of a temple. Then inside the temple, you had the Holy of Holies, where a priest once a year would go in. Two other priests would prepare them to go into the curtain, behind a curtain, offer a sacrifice unto God, hear from God what was the words for all of Israel. But the one priest going in behind the curtain would take a rope tied around their ankle, because two other priests who prepared them would not go in, because if they weren't the right one, they would be killed by God. So they didn't go in. They had a rope tied around the ankle to pull the priest out if the priest wasn't the right one and was killed.
Wow.
So each level is more and more sacred, more and more holy, and we need to protect it. To have the most intimate relationships is at our Holy of Holies of who we are. We're the New Jerusalem. We house God. So who are we letting into our temple? Who are we letting into our Holy of Holies? Who is coming in? Now, Jesus had 3 disciples that he was closest to. And those were Matthew and Mark and John. And those were the ones that were his closest buddies, Peter. And those were the ones that knew what was going on and what was happening. And then at the temple itself, he had 12 apostles. And those saw his teaching, lived with him for 3 years, and he mentored them and loved on them and shared with them. And the outer temple, the outer courts, he had hundreds of disciples. And then he had the marketplace where he had thousands. I think that's about the numbers we can handle at each of these levels that go more and more intimate, deeper sharing of our full being with someone. Marketplace, trade and barter. Outer courts, a little more sacred, prove that they're worthy and safety. The temple itself, about 12 people can we really interact with on a regular, ongoing basis at a deep level, and only about 2 or 3 can we have the most holy experiences with. And each of those levels we need to evaluate, is it safe or not? Now, one way to understand this well is to read Nehemiah. And Nehemiah came back from being in Babylon to Jerusalem when there was no walls, no city, it was torn down. And Nehemiah rebuilt Jerusalem and all the walls. Some of us, when we've been traumatized, harmed, hurt, we have our walls all torn down and we have no city. We need to go build the walls, build the city back, and go through all the way to build the temple, the outer courts, the Holy of Holies, and get it sacred. And sometimes we need help doing that, just like Nehemiah. So to understand how to build your walls and what it is, it's to read Nehemiah and understand how are we going about to build our Jerusalem and protect us. and how many people do you allow in? Sometimes it's difficult too, Tim, because we have allowed someone into our sacred space in the outer courts or temple, and we need to kick them to the marketplace. They don't deserve to be. They have
Right.
they have something to give. Maybe it's a parent, maybe it's a family member, and they're no longer deserving of being into the sacred space. We need to put them out at marketplace. See them for Christmas. See them for certain vacation times or
Right.
holidays. But they don't get to have direct access to my outer courts or my temple or my holy of holies just because they may be a good friend, a parent. They didn't earn that right. They have to earn and prove they have the right to be into my deepest sacred areas of my life. And so that's what we should have with our partners, our married partners in life. We should have it with our best friends, be able to have them at least in the temple.
No, I love it. It's a really helpful illustration. I think you and I've worked through that a few times with just relational issues that I've had, and I know that some of the mistakes that I often make, and that can be hard for pastors in particular, is I too easily sometimes misplace people into the right, the right place, like someone that's more marketplace, a good friend even, uh is hanging out in the temple when it's not a temple type relationship. It's one-sided. It's actually transactional, but I thought it was more. I thought I misread the relationship or the depth of or the safety of, and so it's helpful to have those things. And obviously, one thing you didn't say that is probably obvious is you don't communicate with any of these people where they land either. You just know that it's like, hey, sorry, you're not invited into the temple, my friend. Hang out I'll meet you in the marketplace. So I think that's important because that's something that you articulate and learn, and I think it's helpful on every side of it, and understanding that, no, like I'm trying too much to be in someone's temple when that I'm not that person to them, and that's okay. And we need to be okay with each layer of friendships that we have. And I think that can be really helpful.
Yeah, one of the things is if you're exhausted all the time, you may be an enabler and you're actually codependent, and people are too much into your temple, and you're exhausted and tired because you're given to everyone and you're not stopping to say a good friendship is mutual. I get something out of it, you get something out of it. And if we're drained all the time, we probably have way too many people into sacred space, and we need to stop and say, wait, who do we move out? And someone who was in my sacred space this year, this month, or this for a decade may not be in my sacred space next year for various reasons. When I was drafted and went in the Army, I felt really close to all my buddies in basic and training and all, but I didn't stay close to them afterwards because we went on our way. But during that time, it felt very sacred where we were at. We were suffering together. The drill sergeant was yelling at us. We were trusting when we threw hand grenades and we were shooting our weapons. So you feel very close for a set period of time, but that's only for that moment, that time. And then later, they may not be into some of our sacred space, and we need others. And we need to realize that's okay. That's part of the process of who are we moving in and out based on how much we're getting in return, how much we're giving, how close we are, how do we share with them, how safe are they? So there's a lot of questions to determine what space and what level they get to be at. And there's a lot of times we're in someone's sacred space, but they're not in ours. And that's a tough one because someone's sharing with me who they are. And I love it, but that doesn't mean I'm going to draw them in and let them be into my most sacred spaces.
Absolutely. No, very, very true. Well, thank you so much for all your wisdom. And I know you've been a huge blessing to Corey and I and many others. Right now, one of your biggest focuses is when you're doing your therapy and counseling and coaching, it's primarily with pastors. And but you have a very, I think you told me, is it 10 or 11 different therapy offices all over the country?
Yeah, we have eight. We have eight right now, and we have
8.
85 therapists that work out of those offices. And we have Vibrant Living Coaching which is about how to work with, at the moment, it's with pastors and staffs and working with them to be more vibrant themselves instead of being drained and tired and exhausted. So in fact, we're going to Arkansas to work with 50 pastors next week, my daughter and I, just to make sure that we're practicing how to be vibrant and not always vigilant and exhausted and tired and burned out. How do we actually get to stay in our serotonin? I have a phrase I ask people is, how often do you wiggle your toes in the mud? Because have you wiggled your toes in the mud this week? It's a little kid does stuff fun, play just for fun, no purpose behind it. Eat an ice cream for no purpose other than the flavor, the taste. How often do you just wiggle your toes in the mud for no reason than the fun of feeling the mud goes between your toes and play? Watch a kid play. They play with this abandonment. So part of what we do is help someone say, how are you being vibrant in an abandoned childlike manner? How are you living life that way? Well, taking things seriously. So that's the Vibrant Living coaching side. And then we have the Journeys counseling side that's all about the clinical therapy and working with marriages and people in depression. We have, like I said, 85 therapists doing that.
Amazing. Well, guys, if you're listening, Randy and all his therapy and therapists are incredible, and definitely, whether that's for you individually, your marriage, or someone you know that could definitely use it, we'll make sure to link all those things. But Randy, what a pleasure to have you on. Any last bit of wisdom that you want to drop for any of our listeners?
Go and play. Be sure you play today.
Wiggle those toes in the mud.
With mud, exactly. One of the things you do really well is wiggle toes in the mud, and I love it watching you in Costa Rica and watching you over the years play. You know how to play, and you can teach people to play. Doesn't mean we ignore the problems. We don't ignore them, but boy, you got to build the serotonin and go play. So I'd say go play and have fun today. It's not a bear.
It's not a bear. Awesome, Randy.
Not a bear.
Thank you so much. Do you mind
Thank you, Tim.
Do you mind closing us out in a word of prayer and praying for our listeners?
I'd love to.
Let's do it.
Lord, what a privilege it is to meet with Tim this way, as well as everyone that listens at this time. For you know them by name. Every single person that hears this, you are already in their lives and loving on them. May they accept that, see that, and know that they're not alone, that they have possibilities of how to move from whatever they're experiencing to that of joy, to that of victory, to that of peace, to that of love. And Lord, just thank you. May this time of words that Tim is doing and I'm doing, may it touch them, feed them, encourage someone to reach out and take care of themselves, their marriage, their family, and find the peace that you have promised and given. We give you thanks and praise and glory forever and ever through your Son, Jesus. Amen. Amen.
Amen.